Hello, Linda here. Today I just wanted to share with you my do-it-yourself journal planner that I made myself for the summer. And it's all because I bought this Tomoe river paper. I have seen it around a lot and I keep seeing people using it and saying that it's so great because it's super thin, but it doesn't like bleed through, and people with fountain pens use it, and it's used in like the Hobonichi planners and books and things, so it's just meant to be like really compact. So I really like that idea of having like really thin sheets of paper that are still good to write on and use, because it just takes up less space, like less bulk. So what I decided to do was fold up 3 signatures of 10 pages each of this Tomoe river paper, and I sort of didn't do my research properly. There's actually a slightly thicker version that's like more grams, but I have the really thin version, so it seriously seems very, very floppy. But I thought I would try it out anyway since I already have it. So I made 3 signatures, and then I created this cover with leather with some cardstock glued in. And basically I wrapped the leather around the cardstock all the way to the inside as well, just to create like more bulk and give it a bit more strength, given that the leather was that size anyway. So sort of like use it instead of letting it go to waste, basically. So I have my cover and my signature pages, and what I'm going to do is just punch my holes. And of course you can make a template, or you can measure things out and mark your holes and then punch them, but I sometimes I just sort of do this by eyeballing it, but because I have 3 signatures here, obviously I have to make sure they all match up. So I thought it would be better to actually measure things out this time. So I'm just using a ruler to measure out my holes, and I basically create like a hole from the top, a hole from the bottom, and then one in the very center, and then another 2 like in between and in between. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 holes for this journal. And then I just match it up to the rest of the signatures and mark it so that I can punch the holes for all the signatures in the same location, which obviously will make things easy to sew up later on. So I'm using an awl to punch the holes in the signature, and just sort of going through the same process that I normally go through to create my own journals. I long stitch bind them, and if you're interested, you can definitely check out my whole series that I've created of videos about my entire bookbinding process, from cover like to paper to the final end product. So I will link that up below if you have not seen that before. But I'm basically doing the same like similar process here. So I'm punching all the holes in my signatures and making sure that they are ready to go. So when it comes time to sew up the book, it will be super, super easy. And for the cover itself, I'm actually going to sew around the all around the edge, and that will basically just give it some extra strength and secure it all down. It's already glued all together, but you know, the sewing is sort of like a nice decorative edge and just like extra security to keep it all together. So once I have my cover done, and you can see that it's already scored in the middle where the spine is. And what I'm doing right now is actually adding some glossy accents to the edges of the sewing, the start and the end, so that there's less probability that it will fray and like come apart. So you can just use some clear glue to smear it on, and just sort of helps to prevent it to all stay together if you're worried about that. So here you can see like the spine, it's super, super tiny because the Tomoe river paper is so thin, it just doesn't really take that much space to get all 3 signatures. And so one variation that I wanted to show you here is that like when the papers, like the signatures, are so close together, it's like really hard to poke tiny little holes like so close together, right? It's just really sometimes like it's just not going to work out because the holes are so close together. So what I do is I actually cut slits instead of punching like 3 holes next to each other. Like if they're so close together and you punch those holes, they're really just going to be all connected anyways. So you definitely can just cut a slit Some people do this purposefully, even for larger journals or journals with a thicker spine, just because it looks cool. But basically, instead of punching a bunch of holes, you cut a slit in that location, and you're just going to be going through like that same slit for all 3 signatures. And you end up sort of like still securing everything together nicely. It's just because the paper is so thin, the holes like where the signatures sit, they're just so close together, they're like right next to each other. So I'm using this curved bookbinding needle, and you don't need a curved bookbinding needle, I just happen to have that handy, and I'm using just some linen string, and putting that into my needle, and I'm just sewing the signatures into my cover the way that I normally do in terms of long stitch binding. So I start at the bottom, and then I just weave it like in and out all the way up, and then all the way back down, so that I end up in the same spot and tie a knot there at the bottom. And obviously you could do it in a different location if you wanted the knot in a different area, same difference. You could do it either way. And sorry for the distraction of if you see little hands or toys in the frame, because my daughter is running around and sometimes she, I guess, wants to be a part of the video. But basically, I am just going to sew all 3 of the Tomoe River paper signatures into the cover that I have made. And you can see with the slits, like this is how the spine looks when it's all done. And so it's all attached now, and my do-it-yourself sort of journal/planner is done. And so the process is quite easy and simple, but I just wanted to show you this variation with like this super thin paper, and why I sort of cut slits instead of punched holes. And now I just wanted to like use some markers on the front of like the paper to see what would happen. Unfortunately, it seems like it does bleed through, so I don't know if it's because I was using like super thick markers. Obviously, I need to experiment and really figure out how I'm going to use this Tomoe River paper. If you have experience and you want to share tips and tricks, please let me know in the comments below. I'm definitely just going to be using this for this summer while I'm traveling and on vacation, like summer vacation with my kids, and see sort of how this will work out. But I hope you enjoyed watching my process of creating this do-it-yourself Tomoe River paper journal planner. And if you're interested in making your own journal, definitely check out my series where I show my entire process in detail. I will link it all down below. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.